All right, welcome, attic. We're gonna check it out tonight. Um, I'm over the concern that you'll judge me. I'm hoping you don't, but you know, it's like when people are coming over to visit and you're getting the house cleared out, and sometimes you just have to throw things in the closet, and you hope nobody opens that closet because your life looks all perfect out there. Well, that's what it's been like kind of down in the shop. This is my closet up here. Now, you're already up here because we only have so much cord. But come on up. Check it out. All right. Take a look around. It's just a lot of stuff. And I'm a little more embarrassed to say this isn't even all of it. There's over the top of our garage. I have a bunch of stuff up there. But that's for another day. I'll actually bring that over here. So why am I showing you this? One, just to come clean, you know, it's good for the soul. And the other is that Chris and I have plans to refurbish this area and actually make a little in-law apartment down that way. It's going to take some time, but obviously there's one big step that must be done before you have an open area, and that's get this place organized. So I thought by showing it to people, I kind of build in some accountability, and it's good for the soul, and maybe it'll help with my progress getting this thing done. So that's one reason. The other reason is I actually like it up here. I like to look around. I mean, if you've done like the personality or temperament studies like Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram, is that it? Enneagram? I think the Myers-Briggs is easier to talk about this, but there's that last letter on the Myers-Briggs where you're either a J or a P, right? Mm-hmm. So the J is the orderly one. Now, the camera lady, Chris, has training in this, so she can explain. What is the J exactly?
The J and the P talk about more in line. I'm not going to go into all the description, but one of the elements that you're talking about is desire for closure and attacking life versus just letting life happen is the P person. And you tend to, as an artist, like to just let life come to you. And
what was the first one? I think the closure thing is definitely, either a blessing or a curse, right?
It's a lot of how you make decisions.
Right.
It's much more involved. That's a really simple. Anybody out there knows Myers-Briggs. It's not nearly
right.
the description, but anyway.
But you tend to have in a marriage, quite often you have one person is a J, an orderly closure type person, and the other is a P, a more feeling, kind of likes things open-ended, likes to keep the possibilities in front of them, has difficulties throwing things out, doesn't put things in order really easily. So it's nice to have that little balance. I mean, sometimes it rubs up against each other. It's always good if you look at the gift that your significant other is to you. It doesn't matter which one you are. You're either the open-ender and you need to receive the gift of order that your spouse brings, or if you're the other way around, you've got to receive the gift of creativity and open-ended and inspiration that's around every corner.
Amen.
And but there's also this sentimental side, and I don't know why, but I think you can tell me if I'm right about this. But I think of the P also has a tough time throwing things out because they're connected so much to a memory or an experience that was significant, and they almost feel like they're putting that in the trash, that memory. Especially if you have like a gift from somebody special in your life, it's really hard to just trash it. So one of the things we've learned in the recent years is it's a lot easier to pass things on, either to give them, or if they're of some value and you can't afford to give them, to sell them at a cheap deal or whatever, just to see them get into somebody's hands that can use them. It makes it a lot easier to part with them. So it sounds like I'm giving you instruction on how to do this, but clearly I am a massive failure at that very thing, but I know it's possible. I feel like I'm changing. I feel like I have to change, right? It comes to a point. There is the other thing in a marriage that what if you're both the same? If you're both J's, like orderly people, that might, I don't know which one's easier.
Careful.
I don't know if it's easier to have both J's because everything would be so tidy, right? You might have arguments over if the pencil drawer should be over here or the paper clip should be in a cup this big or not. That was one of the funny things in our marriage. Like after we first got married, I grew up and both my parents were P's. They were open-enders. So our house was always kind of cluttered. And I never saw anything wrong with that because that's how I was too. But after we got married, I remember one of the big revelations was after Chris organized our kitchen and everything in our little apartment, I was like, I pulled open this one drawer in the kitchen and there were all these little cubbies in there. Some had paper clips, the small ones, and then there was another little cup for big ones, and then there was rubber bands, and then there was a little holder for the stapler and the scissors, and if I don't put those things back, whoa, no. I mean, I understand, but what I laughed about was we had no junk drawer. Like when I grew up, we had, if you're in that kind of family, there was always a drawer you'd open up, and it was full of a lot of stuff. So you would just kind of rummage through until you found what you wanted. Usually you kept rummaging until you couldn't find it. But anyway, that's a long introduction to this. But so what I want to do is I'll just show you around briefly and give you an overview. Because if you're a furniture maker or a craftsman of some sort and you've got some history, you're going to have stuff. And you really don't want to throw out or pass along everything because a lot of it is active and comes up again. Like, for instance, me teaching classes here over in this corner to your right. You can see you see it with the camera? Should I put on the flashlight?
It's okay.
Those are the benches in the far corner to the right? The student benches, we've got like 8 of those. And then over just behind the stools, underneath that valuable piece of cardboard, there are lathes, little mini lathes. And there's 8 of those in the shop as well. If you step up this way, you can see them better. There's some jet mini lathes in there. A little further. You want me to move the card?
No, it's okay. It's okay for now.
I'll just roll it a little bit.
Yeah, those lathes are really sweet.
Yeah, they've worked really well for classes, but I haven't had a turning class in a little while. But anyway, so then there's a lot of turning class stuff down there, and also veneering class. But look at this; it's just embarrassing. This is some nice little veneers from a class that Terry Moore taught. Ooh, this is nice Ambonia burl. Can't throw this out. This was like $25 a square foot. Oh my gosh, look at that piece. Huh?
Put it down.
Can you see it? look at that
It's
color.
hard to see it, but
The Ambonia has a redder color, and this has a redder color than a lot of it is more golden. But there's all kinds of cool chunks in there. Here's the Craftsman rocking chair class, and there's all kinds of chair parts here. And every time I have a class, I usually will run extra parts, so I've got a number of chairs that I just, you're on to the next thing, bundle them up, and you have them for the next class. And this kind of gets out of control after a while. You end up with projects like that. This was a shaker rocker that obviously is not done. This was from another class that I didn't even teach. Peter Hindle from England. Some of you may have run into him. He taught that class. And I got all this 1-inch shaker tape. So anyway, I do have a shaker, plans to make a shaker chair, a copy of one from Canterbury Shaker Village, which we figured out is exactly 1.7 miles from our driveway to the main building up there. But to get to the bottom of the hill, it's 1.5 miles. Yeah, it's 1.5, right?
I don't think these people really care about that.
That was a little debate we had the other night. Anyway, I was wrong. But then there's all kinds of stuff back in here. So as a furniture maker, what you end up having are, you have plans. So if you made full-size drawings, you're going to have drawings. Then you're going to have patterns, which are those, usually I'm making those flat patterns to reproduce a shape or a curve or something like that. Then you may have pattern legs and study pieces, of shaped, fully shaped, three-dimensional pieces. And then you'll have parts, to chairs like this. You end up with parts of unfinished projects or whatever. And then you'll have jigs that you might have built for a particular class that'll simplify the process, and you have time invested in that, and you can't throw that out. And then you have forms, which if you're doing a lot of bending and laminating, which I got into a lot over the last 15 to 20 years. So there's these forms that you have time in, and they're really handy, and you just can't throw those things out. Well, you can, but it's harder because they're bigger. And so I have all of that stuff. And then you have mock-up chairs or pattern chairs, mock-ups of anything, but a lot of times I'm doing chairs like that. So anyway, that's a nice cherry shaker rocker. And then over here, this is actually, under here is a mock-up chair. This is all, usually if they're in poplar, you can't even see that. It's buried so bad. But it looks like this chair, this cherry one. And this is like a library chair that I got to finish shaping the arm. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. It's a pretty cool chair. I made this for the old Rough Cut show. And then this is a curved back sofa thing. Oh, these are all laminations that are ready to go to bend for the rail on that chair. So glad I got that. I could bend that any time now. But actually, there's one already in the form. See, this is the bending forms for that chair rail. And that's those same layers. There's like 10 layers of 1/8 inch, I believe it's 10, cherry in there. And those have been already laminated. So if I pop those out, that thing stays right in shape. And all of those were left in order. So when you shape a piece like that, it ends up looking like a solid piece, even though it's 10 layers. Because the form is so well shaped, it applies really good even pressure. Sort of like what we did on the stretcher of the last piece. And then here's the arm piece to that. Anyway, I'm not going to get too in the woods there, but all of these are leg Shaping patterns you see from their jigs for shaping table legs. I'm sorry, chair legs, the back legs. This is what is that? That's from a class I did in 2016. It's more of a craftsman style chair. And then over here, this is a really curvy one. This is the Queen Anne chair. That I really like that chair a lot, and have that in the house. I've thought of doing a class on that someday, but that would take 2 weeks, and I don't know if it will work. I did want to say, the other reason I wanted to show you this up here was also, I'm curious what interests you about this, if anything, like looking at all this stuff. It's just a lot of resources, and I think a lot about, all right, how can I best present, new topics? Like, should it just be a technique or a project that involves the technique? To me, I've always feel like the best way to learn is project-based, because it's actually like playing the sport, it's playing the game. You're not just practicing like one technique and one technique, but you get in the game, and in the game, you're focused on this full experience. So it's real, and it's what you get involved in. Sometimes you need to practice something, but we'll cover that as we go through. So I've always thought projects are more interesting. So even for the live night, that's why we started going to that coffee table last time. So
Can I give you some comments just so that you have?
yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Mackie says you should start raffling off things so that you can get, each time we do a live, and start getting out of here.
That's a good idea.
Chip says your attic is more organized than his. I'm sorry, I don't know B-siders. He says, I'm not seeing a real problem here.
What do you mean?
Meaning it feels at home to him, I'm assuming.
Oh, we're kindred spirits.
Steve says
Chip?
it's like we are inside your personal computer and you're showing us your file folders.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Thank you. That's awesome.
Another Steve says your attic shows a real true woodworking furniture maker.
Oh, gosh. It's,
And,
yeah. I've had people come up here and say, this looks like a mad scientist. And I'm, in a woodworking sense, I guess it is. It's just so many years and variety of projects.
Dan says the class regarding the shaker chair you just spoke of would interest him.
What,
Dan,
the rocker?
The shaker chair you just spoke of? I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's this one.
The rocking chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to do one on a rocking chair. The trick is turning the parts.
Bill's asking, do you ever find things in your attic that you forgot you had?
Yeah, I do. That's more probably in the hardware section. That's way down there in the middle. That's a very organized space.
What's the first thing Steve says is going to go into the burn pile? And then Larry says you just need a bigger attic.
Yeah, I need a bigger attic.
No, Larry, no. That's
the funny thing. Like they say,
answer.
Build your shop. Pug Moore, like he was so funny. He had a storage room that was overrun, and garage. His house was very neat and tidy all the time, but he was kind of a J when it came to storage. It's hard to know how to store this stuff because it's so bizarre. I mean, it's so different, and so you got to categorize things. And I'm saying this like I know what I'm talking about. Are you laughing at me saying this?
No.
Oh.
Michael says time to put that sofa back in your house to make room up there.
What sofa?
I don't know if he's talking about the sofa over here.
Oh, no, that's a
The one
Lazy
you
Boy recliner. That actually, I don't know. I think we got that from my grandmother when I was,
It's from your parents.
yeah, but it was in Lowell, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's one of those that assists you to stand up, and it was used so little that, hey, I got that ready, So I'll have that down in the shop one day, We'll be like, all right, now we're going to go over there to cut this on the table saw, and I'll just go, bzzz, get in the upright position. We'll run it. We all set.
Yeah.
So that actually is a very comfortable chair, but I'm not sure that mechanism is working.
Richard suggests just building some shelves and label things so that you can find them when needed.
Yeah,
Yes, Richard. I love that idea.
Yeah, Richard, that is a great idea. But you know, when you've seen pictures or video of the shop and you see that big dormer window up on the top, that's that space over there. We'll walk up a little further. And that's a 14-foot wide dormer. So what we want to do is capture that to make a great room. That'll be sort of the living room of the...
I haven't seen the dormer window.
Yeah, we'll walk forward. But anyway, I'm just saying, so that some of that living room furniture is actually going to stay in this area. I'm not sure about, I don't really like those bookcases, but we'll see.
Okay.
So anyway, we can walk in a little further.
Sorry if the lights are bugging you guys in the background there.
Yeah. So I've got like a lot of chair stuff on the front here. Obviously, I'm just ditching things, not really knowing what I'm doing there. This was an old Duncan Fife chair mock-up. This is all like pine, and I just mocked that up for a client.
Just
Oh
threw
my
it
gosh,
together.
that was 15 years ago because this little medallion was painted. He wanted it painted with a scene, and I worked with an artist who painted this medallion. This was just a copy of the painting that ended up going on them. And oh boy, that was, actually I enjoyed that chair. I really, those are comfortable chairs. And this is like a really old rocker. And this is old. I might have got this from Pug. You know, it needs a new slat up here, but then it'll be good as new. No, then you can see it had a rush seat with that woven stuff. That is cool, though. This has been used so much, these rockers are practically flat. You put it down, it doesn't even rock. It goes flat. So those could put a little more arc in them. That'd be a great little kid's chair.
This is a good question. Do you feel like you're a hoarder, or is this stuff like your kids?
Do hoarders even know they're hoarders? That's a good question, you know? They just like it. And
Well, they think it's going to be useful someday. It's a noble idea.
yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like it might be hoarding, but I don't feel like it's hoarding like in a way that I think of it as purposeful for a project, or I can pass it along somehow. But I don't know. You know, there's a lot of stuff up here that I don't know. It's not like you want to have a yard sale with this kind of stuff because it's so specific to interests. But, you know, there's certain chair, almost like kits. They're not full kits, but then you got to know what to do with them. I have 15 nice pieces of this bronze woven wire that's awesome for like library cabinet or something. And when I got it, I had to get more because it was a wrong shipment. This was over 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. But it's beautiful stuff, and I would sell that cheap. But anyway.
Stuart's asking, have you ever sat in the attic and wondered what you might finish next? No, I don't think that's ever happened. He just brings
Where would I
things up
sit,
here.
Stuart? Where would I sit? Oh, maybe that chair? How about that one? None of them have seats. That recliner, I actually have sat in that and then just ponder my fate. What's going to happen here? I just got to get it settled, you know. You start to hear the clock ticking, you know. You're like, I don't want to leave this problem to other people, God forbid, you know. Plus, they won't really know what to do with it.
Hey,
So.
Daryl says he sees the recliners, but he doesn't see a big screen TV.
Yeah, that'll have to come later, that big screen TV. But, oh man.
You know, Rob down in Virginia is saying that you should put everything in the database with storage zones from Lowe's. Log everything in a database with storage zones, like Lowe's does that, sorry.
Is that Rob Rhodes?
Yes,
Rob?
Rob Rhodes.
Oh, that's amazing, Rob. Yeah, see, I've seen your house. You are definitely a J. And that would be a J suggestion. Yeah, I need somebody who's good at that. to do that. So when are you coming up? Actually, it would probably be a couple weeks of, oh my gosh. First, it has to get sorted, you know. I remember when I had a little burst of enthusiasm for it, and I put all these tables right down the middle, and they were all cleared off because I thought to myself, I got to take things off the floor in order to organize them up here, then I can restore them over there. But before that all got done, this all got loaded up with more stuff. So,
Okay, let's keep going.
yeah, keep going. You might have to pull your card a little bit.
Okay. Well, you might need to pull the card. I'm really occupied.
Okay. All right, go ahead and walk forward a little more. All right, right there. Right there is good.
John says the stuff in the attic is a quiet place you go to have remembrances of the wonderful times you had making those parts. Don't give it up. It's part of your psyche.
Yes, John.
Yeah, that's what he thinks too, John.
Well, no, there's something to be said about knowing really what you have and trimming down. That's what I need to
There's a
do.
balance. Yeah, there's definitely a balance.
Yeah. So,
We want to preserve history. People are dancing, preserve history.
I mean, sometimes what happens is I'm going through stuff, and I get these warm feelings about, you see stuff like this. I mean, these arms were like,
These arms.
these arms, I'm not giving away these arms. No, these arms were like in Pug Moore's shop, like near my bench. And that chair, the chair that these go to is hanging on the wall downstairs. You probably have seen it in the video at some point. It's a great Chippendale chair. And these are all shaped and ready to be attached. They've gotten some breakage and stuff. But, I mean, that's so sweet. When I was learning, I had no clue at how to do this at that time. And so these are so nice and sculptural. But the fact that they were in his shop and almost ready to go on, I'm not sure why they weren't finished. But this is mahogany and nicely shaped, So, I mean, what are you going to do with that? You can't just throw that out, or you're not going to burn that. So anyway, here's more chair stuff. Obviously, these are tables. Oh, I got a nice shaker box kits here.
There's a question here. Why so much unfinished product from Steve?
Unfinished? Well, because a lot of it, the unfinished stuff, it's usually like when you're making a set of chairs or something, or in classes, like I said, I'd make extra parts and pieces. But then when I'm making the actual pieces for a client, sometimes when you're doing something pretty technically challenging that you had a lot of time invested to set up for, you'll run an extra part if you got the materials, just because it's economical to save time. But then you got the thing, and if you don't have time right away to finish it out, you're not going to, because a lot of it's very time intensive to finish it out. So
You don't always have someone who's going to buy it. And when this is your income, you have to be moving towards the next.
right, you have to spend your
Check.
time on things you
It's
know you
different.
have sales
Hobby.
for.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like you're putting it in a fund, sort of, but it's crazy how it can overrun you, Now I have all these are all drawings. They were all down in there, but I mean there's at least 50, more. There's a pile over there, and some of these represent months of work because of the intensity. More leg shaping stuff, and then now you can come a little forward and you can see the dormer. Right over here, I'll turn on my flashlight. So you can see that's the window that you always see in the attic space. When we were building this, we got up here and the plan was actually just a rafter with no windows at all, the entire top floor. But we got up here and we're standing on the deck, and it was, oh my gosh, it it was January because we started building later. So we had, fortunate we didn't have a lot of snow that year. And it was so clear and crisp, no leaves on the trees, and you could see for miles. And I was just like, oh my gosh, we can't just put no exposure here. So ended up just building that on the deck here and covering this all over with plastic. And we raised that in the spring and then framed it all out. So the plan is like to get on the sides here where we just walk through to make just kind of a hallway and have storage like from about here over on both sides of that whole entryway coming in. So like almost 20, 25 feet coming in, have big storage like that. So that's the plan, is to get it, like someone mentioned, on shelves or carts. And if I utilize all that space in there, it's actually, I should be able to get quite a bit in there. But I've got to trim it down and get things scaled down. But I mean, there's so many things here, you know. This is a little pattern I made for a chair design. That's a great chair, that little sculpted. This is just out of some kind of lousy wood, but eucalyptus, that's what it was. But we made it out of mahogany and wangi and other stuff. But oh my gosh, there's so many things. Over here there's a lot of bed stuff on the floor here. This is the pencil post bed class. You see that?
Yeah, I'm getting.
It's got the lamb's tongue detail there. You can see. And this is a nice piece of curly maple. We had a class where we would have up to 6 students. Everyone made a bed like this. It was a blast. And it was a lot of prep for that class. But
We don't have insulation in the floor of the attic, right?
no, the floor is insulated.
Oh, the floor is insulated.
Yeah.
It
In
is-
order to have no posts downstairs, I always forget what you call these. LVL, laminated beams or something. They're 16-inch deep laminated beams. It's not a beam. Anyway, it spans the 30 feet front to back of the shop, 16-inch centers, and that's our floor. So there's no post below us here, but there's good thick insulation down there. I mean, look under here. I haven't even shown you this, but these are some wacky things we bent for, I'm trying to remember what this was for, but I've got the form that this came off of, and I know at the time I was like, all right, we can just throw another one on the form and then we'll have it. Oh, I remember what it was. For an entertainment center where we had a timbre door thing. It's a long
Can you
story.
roll me my cart, please?
Yeah. We'll just go a little further.
Thank you.
Is this inspiring anybody for any other kind of classes? Are you getting any more comments of what people would be interested to see?
LDL beans, this old house.
Yeah, there you go.
Dance, Richard says. Course on emission share, somebody said. Ton of ideas Richard has.
Oh, cool. I've got, here's my Queen Anne leg pattern. Right in here is a lot of the Townsend chests that I made. That was a great time. And chairs, a lot of chair stuff. All these laminations ready to go with Wenge. So when you're running the laminations, you're prepping the material. A lot of times you have a plank and it's worth it to go ahead and just resaw because you're all set up and you got it going. And so now I have all these, and these are all like, I don't know if you can see how many layers there are, but there's a lot of Wenge right there. And it's all about less than an 1/8 inch thick. Anyway.
People seem to be suggesting that you just bring people up here and they pick up stuff and make something from it.
Well, I thought, it is a library of, to me, it's inspiring, and there are some projects that are really key to me that I want to finish that I think are very interesting. There's at least 20. More. But I think it would be really interesting because you could come up and you could just grab something. There's like these stainless steel boxes that this guy I made with him. He welded these. I guess you don't weld stainless steel, but brazed it, whatever you do. And they need to be fitted out with wood and made into humidors. And he made 2 of them so he could have one. And I mean, it's a lot of work to do the wood part, I'm not saying it wasn't work to do but I haven't. When am I going to do that, without non-paying job? So, but that would be an awesome project to do and make a nice video of finishing that out. So, anyway, more tables, chair bases, forms, bending forms. There's lots of bending forms. Oh, this was the original rocking chair before I added height to it, and this was on the Rough Cut show in season 6. No,
I don't know.
5.
For sure.
It was in 5. Anyway, I really like this design. The lower back this gets a thick cushion, but the only downer about this chair was when you put your head back, when you're on the cushion, it doesn't hit anything if you're taller. So, but this was completely built and screwed together as a mock-up to test the dimensions and everything and get everything worked out, and also to see it in 3 dimensions, figure out the rocker curvature, the lower back support, and just get it all nailed down like that. And I actually added some blocks in here because it was too narrow at first. It just was like 1.5 inches too narrow. So I made it wider, and then worked out nice. But that's been redesigned, and we actually have plans for that as well. By the way, if you want to come on Saturday, I've been getting ready for that. That's why I'm not doing much tonight other than this, but that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to go over that floating table project, and it's a new design, so it'll be taking you through the process of this new design, but it's got some very some interesting looks to it, so we'll work that out.
We are streaming that if you can't be local.
Yeah.
Bob says this is making me a little concerned about all the bits of wood I can't bring myself to throw away because maybe I'll need them someday. Luckily, my wife isn't watching tonight.
Oh my gosh.
That's good, Bob.
Sounds like you're like me, Bob. You've got an organized wife, and yeah, how many times I'm down at that. One thing about being a woodworker and having a wood stove at the house is you have a lot of scraps, and so you're at you're throwing in your kindling. And sometimes it's cherry and a curly maple. And this has happened so many times. I'll take the board and I go, oh, it's just too nice to burn. It's like, where are you going to put that stuff?
It is hard.
And I've noticed a little squirrel, like, making little piles of her own, too.
I have done that. You're right.
I'm like trying to figure it out. Like, what are you going to make with that? And it's usually not the kind of wood, it's more the shapes and stuff. But you've got some ideas, I know.
Ideas, but
yeah.
I have compassion when I'm up here, believe me.
So I don't know if I have to take you all the way back, but it is just one curved project after another. This was actually my bench top in my shop in Wilson, North Carolina. This was one of the benches. This was kind of like a chair making bench. This is actually a design that I would love to show you guys, because notice there's no vices on this bench. There's just dog holes. And this little top, it actually clamps into a vise, which is on a post. And I've got that on the floor over there. And I have that thing mounted in a concrete slab. So the post is just right there. And the post comes up and it's got a welded housing. So you just have a vise that opens and closes, but there's nothing around the vise. So if you want to make chairs, it's very cool. You just pull this thing out and you've got a vise you can clamp in and walk all around for any kind of access to the piece. But then you can pop this little top on there and use the holdfasts with these holes. I said dog holes, I meant holdfast holes. So that, I've got to put a plate on the floor downstairs to really show you that at some point soon.
Larry said that's why it's called heirloom wood. Eventually our heirs will have to deal with it.
Larry, don't say that. That's going to get me in trouble. I'm trying not to do that. But check this out. This is like a huge laminated front. And something went wrong with this, but actually I don't think this is too bad. This is the core I made for some drawer fronts that ended up getting more on the front. Let's see. Oh gosh. Anyway, and there's the bending form right behind it. So there's these massive, like, this is a miniature form. It's just a little curved front. I did that for drawer front demo. But that's the kind of thing I have a lot of these big forms. And this is I have a lot of hardware and various things here, like pen making stuff or gifts and ice cream scoops and nice little blocks of wood here. Oh, and a couple of bundles of ball and claw feet, just in case you need them, you know. These are, these I actually didn't carve. These I got from Pog Moore. They were in his shop, not finished. So now they're here.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, what are we going to do, you know? But those are already, and he gave me a lot of stuff like that.
Honey.
Huh?
Someone might like those.
These are small. This would be for a smaller table. These are hand carved. And then I've got these over here. These are a little larger. And these are walnut. This was some tough walnut too. I know I tuned up these a little bit, but that's more of like a small round table, like pedestal tables. Huh, there's another set. I mean, this would be a great class. So really one of my goals is to get to the point where the teaching or the live streaming or the, anything on YouTube, if I have enough, find some way to make the teaching the product or the monetization means. So then at the end, you don't have to sell the thing. So there's not as much pressure to actually make a specific thing, and you can have the freedom to come up here and say, all right, this week we're going to finish a table using these ball and claw. I'm going to show you turning the column. We're going to make the dovetails on here, fit it in. We're going to finish it out and make something beautiful out of these resources. So that's the kind of thing that's up here. And there's a lot more over the shop, over the garage, that it's a shame. But anyway, on the back wall you can see there's headboard patterns and more forms for bending, table shapes. Oh my gosh, there's finials. I got some really choice slabs of walnut over there that I was up here getting some out for the class on Saturday. But I flipped over these slabs and I picked them up in Pennsylvania. Like, that was 15, almost 20 years ago. They're just dead bone dry now. And They were wet when I got them down there. But so nice. And it would make an awesome slab table, almost like George Nakashima. So anyway, all of that, I get a little overwhelmed being up here after too long because there's so much I would love to just stop and do, and you get paralysis, because it's too much. And that's really one of the other motivational factors to getting it organized, like to not be paralyzed by it, but to do the hard work of first just digging in and getting some momentum going, and then organizing things and figuring out a shelf system or something. But we got to get the stuff down that end so this is open floor and we can start laying out a nice little space here. So I'm hoping this is the first step, to just talk about it and share it with other people, and you can kind of follow the progress. So I hope that my schedule opens up in such a way that I can dive into this some more, and even in the cold weather, it's not that bad. It does get really cold up here, but if you dress right, you can do an hour or two, no big deal. So, are there any other questions? I don't know what else I can add without actually going into anything, and there's so much.
You just have people that understand. Stuart would like those small ball and claw feet for bedside tables.
Yeah, those are mahogany, I think. I don't know. I'm trying to decide what size table that would even make. I think it would be a smaller. It'd be like a type of table you could have next to a sofa, actually, a round one. They had a lot more of those tables back in the 18th century. But are you an 18th century guy, Stuart? Have you made tables like that? Gets like a certain kind of column. You could do a bird cage at the top. It could be a spinning top table, all kinds of stuff.
Too much to do, not enough time.
We got
Yep.
our Christmas tree over there ready to go up. This is around the time of year right after Thanksgiving.
We leave the lights on that tree, and then we just put it in front of this window, and it shines out through.
Yeah, we prop
the
it up
window. It's really pretty.
on the sofa. We put a board across there, and it's on a timer, so you see the Christmas lights.
Cool.
Yes. Oh, there's so much I want to show you here. This is a patchwork. These are all templates for that was the barn beam bed templates that I talked about last time. I should show you a couple of them.
Michael says you're giving fine woodworking ideas here for their next cover photo.
Oh, God. Yeah, wouldn't that be funny? That's like real, It's like, what do? You stand here like this. Like, I'm so overwhelmed. What do I do now? How did I do this to myself? No, but one of the other things that you accumulate as a furniture maker is, these are patterns, jigs for columns. This is bed-related stuff. If I just go into one little section, Queen Anne, and then I've got these choice chunks of wood around to make a certain thing. Now you can't buy genuine mahogany anymore, but you can, but it's it's like $12 a board foot, and it's not even the really good stuff. But this is a heavy piece of 4-inch thick genuine mahogany, and it's so dense and rich with figure that it makes beautiful columns. So I've got a project in mind that would be awesome to show you and take that right from the beginning, because that would be spectacular. Like this little table I've made a number of times with that would be excellent. And these strong curve forms here. But yeah, there's little things of wood like that around that's the thing you really want to do something with before it's an heirloom and your heirs have to deal with it, and they don't know what to do with it, and it gets wasted or basically, put in the wrong place. So anyway.
I want to respond to Michael. He mentioned the Saturday, Michael, and anybody out there, if you're not local and you want to be a part of what's going on Saturday, we are streaming. So you can go to our website and there's info there on how you can get the streaming links.
Right. And we'll be downstairs.
6-hour event. So.
Hopefully we'll have a sunny day. It has been literally raining for 5 days straight here. It's been crazy. Feels like we haven't even seen the sun. So, unless there's any other questions, that's all I...
No, just people grateful for you showing. And
Well, thank you, everybody. Well, this is going to be a resource, and I do want to show you as we go along, and I want to share as much of this and new things I'm learning as I can. So it's just, your being a part of this makes it possible, and also sharing and liking and whatever else.
commenting. And all
Yeah.
that stuff.
It's all good. So
So
That's-
here we go.
that's all I got. So thank you so much for coming here. Next time, maybe we'll have a little done here. But I'll probably see you on Saturday if you're going to be part of that. If not, I'll see you next week right here, back in the shop, on Shop Night Live. What am I going to do with this?